Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So thank you for coming to the presentation for programs in France for our winter 2027 advising fair. So I'm sure you're kind of thinking about your options and what programs you're looking into. So today I'm going to kind of go through your options in France, especially since our portfolio in France has gone through some recent changes. So let's see. To begin, for winter programs in France, we do have four different semester options. That would be the Advanced French in Paris, the Humanities and Social Sciences in Aix-en-Provence in the south of France, the Humanities and Social Sciences in Paris, which is our new program, our newest program, and then the University Study in France through Sciences Po Reims, which is about 45 minutes northeast of Paris, about a 45-minute train ride. So when you're looking through the programs and trying to choose which one is best for you, there are some factors to consider specific to France when you are comparing these programs. The first is going to be language instruction. If you are looking for coursework taught in French, there are some programs that are better fits for that. The second is going to be cost. So we do have one program that you pay UVM tuition and three that you do not. Housing will be another factor you'll want to consider. And then if you do have a specific major or minor, some programs will be better suited for that specific major or minor. Any French majors or minors should work really closely with their French advisor when selecting between programs and choosing courses, as they will need to get approval for the French major or minor. And that is best to do earlier on in the process so that you know what courses will come back as once you return back to campus. So some brief overview of the four programs. So in Advanced French, this is our program that is targeted primarily to French majors and minors, those that are looking for a more intensive language study. And you do need 6 semesters of college level French, about the B2 level for this program to apply. And then for our two programs that are provider programs in the middle, the Humanities and Social Sciences in Paris and Aix-en-Provence, these will be programs where most of the coursework will be taught in English. They both do have a required French course that you do have to take. They just have a minimum GPA, but if you do want to take coursework in French, so more than just your one French language course, you do have to have 4 semesters of college level French completed, so past that 232 level. And then our last one is that Sciences Po France, which is a direct exchange program. So it is our most independent sort of program that we offer. And it has that 3.0 minimum GPA, and we do require students have a strong social science background, where you will take courses alongside local French and international students at the Sciences Po Reims campus. And all of these programs are offered in both the winter, fall, or academic year. So even if you're not thinking just winter, but maybe in the future, they're all offered for both semesters or the full academic year. So when choosing between programs, if you are looking for programs in French, there are two programs that are a little bit better suited for this. That will be the Advanced French in Paris or the Sciences Po Reims program. For both of these programs, you will take courses at a local French university with other French students taught completely in French, or you at least have that option. And they will have more coursework offered in French than, for example, the two programs that are best for English. For the two programs that are best for English, those are both the Humanities and Social Sciences program. They tend to have a little bit more limited course offerings in French, but that is not to say that they do not have them. So if you are definitely more attracted to the Aix-en-Provence program in the south of France, you can certainly still find coursework in French, but it might be a little bit harder to find specific sorts of content or higher level French courses in particular. So if you are looking into cost, like I said earlier, there is one of these programs, the Sciences Po Exchange, that is best for if you need to pay tuition. So this can be for students who receive certain scholarships that require U of M tuition to be paid, in which case Sciences Po Reims is going to be the best program for you. If you are looking for a program that does not pay U of M tuition, that would be the other three programs we do have. For these programs, instead of paying U of M tuition, you will pay a program fee. These program fees will vary by program, but for students who are, the fees are usually around in-state tuition on campus, so they're supposed to be similar costs. And for students who are out-of-state students, the fee-paying option tends to be more sought after. And obviously, like I said, students on specific scholarships may want that tuition paying as well. So I will now go into a little bit more detail on each of the four program offerings. So for the Advanced French in Paris, it is run through Middlebury College with their schools abroad. So that is who we will partner with and who you would work with throughout the process if you choose to apply. Like I mentioned earlier, you do have to have 6 semesters of college level French, and you do have to hit that B2 level. You will take a placement exam as a part of the application process, and you do have to hit the B2 minimum, and that is the requirement of their partner universities. So you will want to make sure that you feel strong with your French ability before you do apply. And then through this program, you do earn about 15 U of M credits per semester, and you will take 1 to 2 courses with Middlebury at their center in Paris. It is in a very nice area of Paris. I was just recently there, so I'm happy to talk more about that center. It is very beautiful, and you'll take courses with other Middlebury students as well as students from other colleges and universities across the U.S. And then you will take the rest of your courses, usually 2 to 4, at a partner university. You can see these university partners that are listed on the slide, and your placement will depend usually on what your other major or minor is or what you are hoping to study during your term abroad. So if you are in more of a science-related major or minor, so psychology I know is a popular one, you will likely be at Paris City University. For students in more humanities, Sorbonne is a likely placement for you, but again, this will just depend on what you're hoping to study during that term. For housing on this program, Middlebury does prioritize homestays, but they do have the option of doing foyers, which are essentially like youth residence halls throughout Paris and act as a shared student housing. And then homestays. So Middlebury does work with an agency that places students with local homestays, and this can be in the greatest Paris metro area. So you might not necessarily be in the city of Paris, but you might be in one of the immediate suburbs. They do prioritize placing you on a metro line so that you are a very short commute to campus, so that your commute will likely be somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes. And they do try to minimize transfers, but that's not always possible. But you will certainly be very close to public transit, and Paris does have very extensive public transit. And for this program, the language of instruction is in French, so you will not take any courses in English, which is why tends to be best for French majors or minors, and can really advance your language level throughout the program. The applications are due on September 1st, but we do have a priority deadline of August 15th. This program can get competitive for the winter semester, so if you are interested, I would certainly encourage you to submit an application by August 15th. For our humanities and social sciences in Aix-en-Provence, so this program we partner with ACM IAU, or just IAU for short, and they do have a study center in Aix-en-Provence. We have been working with them for quite a long time, and we do run our summer French 232 program with them as well. There is that minimum 2.5 GPA. And they will offer 12 to 18 U of M credits per semester. Coursework is generally in the social sciences or humanities. They do have some like econ offerings, international relations types of courses, and you can check out their online course guide for more of those details. You are required to take one French language course during your semester there, and it will not count towards the LSA language requirement. So if you are at a lower level, you will just take a placement test and take a French language course at the appropriate level. If you've never taken French, you would just take the beginner French course. But if you are at a higher level, you can just take one course taught in French and the rest in English. And then for the rest of your courses, you will choose between a variety of French or English taught elective courses over those various subject areas. And on this program, IAU does also very much prioritize homestay housing. So they do have long-standing relationships with community and with families there, and they will place students into homestays. They do place students first based off dietary, religious, or other housing accommodations, and then they will try to place students based on lifestyle and interests to try to place you with a host family that has some shared interests and lifestyle habits. But they do also have some student residence apartments, and those are mostly reserved for students with housing accommodations. So you will mostly be placed into homestays. And for this program, you are mostly taught in English. However, there is the option for some French language instruction as well. And for this program, applications will be due on September 15th, and there is just one deadline. It is not a competitive program. So most students who meet the eligibility requirements will be accepted to the program, and it is not considered competitive. For the humanities and social sciences in Paris, so this is new for 2027, the winter of 2027. And I also just recently visited their center in Paris as well. But it is through IES Abroad at their study center in Paris. and does have that 2.7 minimum GPA requirements. If you are below a 2.7, 2.75, they will review applications on a case-by-case basis. And typically will just require some additional application requirements. And on this program, you will take 15 to 18 U of M credits per semester. So that tends to work out to 3 to 4, sometimes even 5 IS abroad courses. And like the program in Aix-en-Provence, you are required to take one French language course at the appropriate level. It will also not count towards the LSA language requirement. But if you do have high enough level, you will just take a course taught in French if you would like. This program does also have an optional internship placement and seminar, which can be great for students to utilize within Paris. And then they do partner with the Paris School of Business. So you can take one course through the Paris School of Business. If you'd like to take more, it does incur additional charges. And you can certainly look through their course offerings. It is primarily in the social sciences with some humanities. There are a few psychology offerings, not a ton, and a few econ offerings as well, but can be a really great option for students. And then the language of instruction is mostly in English, with some of those French language courses still an option. But the housing for this program, they do have homestays are available, but they are not necessarily prioritized. So they also do have shared apartments that you can stay in, or residence halls like those foyers through Advanced French, very similar to that, that are available. This program does not prioritize homestays in the way the previous two programs did. So if you are hoping to avoid staying with a local family, this program can be a good option for that, since you will have the choice between homestays, shared apartments, or residence halls. And this application is also due on September 15th. This program is not considered competitive, so if you do apply, you do not necessarily need to apply for a backup, and most eligible students will get accepted. And lastly, for the Sciences Po Reims program, this is located in Reims, which is about 45 minutes outside of Paris. It is in the Champagne region of France. And I know many students usually are looking at the flagship Paris campus through Sciences Po. That is a program we did used to offer and will no longer be able to offer it due to a variety of reasons. So we are still happy to offer the Reims campus. They do tend to offer a lot of support at this campus. There are a lot of international students that come study here for their full undergraduate time. So they do have a lot more help with housing and getting your academics arranged than other Sciences Po campuses. And it is with the Paris Institute of Political Science, but their Reims campus. And the prereqs are a minimum 3.0 GPA, and we do also look for significant coursework in the social sciences. I would note that French students only have a 3-year undergraduate degree, so some of the higher level social sciences courses will require some background in those subject areas. And on this program, you will take 12 to 18 U of M credits. If you are hoping to take courses in French, you do just have to have those 4 semesters of college level French, but you can take all of your courses in English. You can take them all in French, or you can take a combination of English and French courses. I do caution students that courses taught entirely in French, both through Sciences Po and through the Advanced French program in Paris. Those courses taught at the local partner universities, taught in French, can be quite challenging. It is a lot to adjust to the different higher education expectations that are in France, and learning higher level content in a different language can be challenging. We do convert your grades back on this program. From Sciences Po, we do convert your grades from that 0 through 20 French scale into U of M letter grades. I always give students, it tends to be more generous to U of M students. So like a 16 through 20 is an A plus, a 13.9 through a 16 is an A, just to give you context, but I can certainly provide more information if you do want to reach out to me. Um, and then the housing on this program is independent housing, so no housing is guaranteed, and students are required to navigate the housing process on their own. Sciences Po will have resources online and some people to contact on campus to help guide you through this process, but students should expect a very independent process. I know some students will just get an Airbnb for the semester, but other students will look through French housing companies, which can be a little bit more tedious. You will also be required for all of these programs to get a French student visa. On this program, it will have the least amount of support for obtaining that visa. The other programs will tend to provide a little bit more resources and a little bit more support throughout the process. And it is CGIS policy that we do not advise on the visa process. I always help students as best I can and provide resources and guide them through the process, but we do not officially advise for that visa process. And typically, the visa process, regardless of the program, does require a in-person appointment at your nearest French consulate. The nearest one to Ann Arbor is in Chicago. So if you're from Michigan or you're staying in Ann Arbor, you may have to plan a weekend trip to Chicago to get that appointment in the fall before you go abroad for the winter. Um, because of the timeline, sometimes students will, if your permanent residence is a state outside of the Midwest, very close to Chicago, you might have a French consulate closer to your permanent address. So you may just travel home for a weekend to go do that appointment. But you do have the option of the consulate closest to your permanent address or closest to Ann Arbor, which would be Chicago. And like I said, the language instruction is French or English, depending on what you're looking for. And this application is due on September 15th. For this program, it is labeled as competitive, but we do not anticipate it being extremely competitive for the winter 2027 semester. So I do anticipate that the majority of students who do apply will get accepted, but we do have a limited number of spots. So if we do get more applications than the number of spots we have available, that may result in some students getting waitlisted or denied. So that is certainly something to keep in mind as you are looking through the options. And for a timeline of the winter 2027 process, so our programs have all launched. If you find any that are not fully launched, that means usually they're just waiting on a few changes and should be launched sometime in the month of April. If not, please reach out to the CGIS advisor to inquire about why it might not be open. This week we do have the Winter Advising Fair, so feel free to go to our other presentations to learn more about the study abroad process. And you are welcome to start your applications at this point, and definitely for some of the programs, including Sciences Po and Advanced French, you will need a letter of recommendation, so it can be always nice to get a head start on that. And then over the next few months or weeks, you can certainly meet with CGIS or attend these info sessions to kind of talk about your options and any questions you may have, and start completing those applications and start researching that financial aid and scholarships process. And then from August 15th to September 15th, that is when the deadlines will occur. So I know for most of these programs in France, it will be September 1st or September 15th with that one optional early deadline of August 15th. But if you are looking at other countries as well and you're not just restricted to France, you will want to check out those deadlines as well to make sure you do not miss any deadlines. And you will also want to submit your applications for any scholarships that you're hoping to apply. I would also note that you are not always required to be accepted into a program in order to apply for scholarships. In fact, for most of the university-run scholarships, you will apply before you hear back about your study abroad program, but they will evaluate on the assumption that you are accepted, and we do share our list of participants with all of the offices that require that. And then once you are past the deadline for the application, you will likely continue applying for funding and fill out financial aid information, and then you will work with your advisors as you begin to pick courses and get them approved for whatever requirements you are hoping to fulfill while abroad. I always like to mention, so if you are a French major or minor or studying language, please be careful with planning. So with careful planning, you can complete a significant amount of your French major or minor while studying abroad. And you must meet, if you are a French major or minor, you must meet with a French advisor before and after going abroad, as they want to ensure that you are taking the right classes through the right progression, and so that there is no kind of weird, like when you come back, they want to make sure you're in the right level the semester you return. And if you are earning credit towards distribution or other major or minors, please make sure you're getting those approved. And you can always visit the RLL's website to learn more and schedule an advising appointment. And then just more general information about course approvals. So I know I talk more about the French approvals, but if you have a different major or minor as well, along with any French study, you will want to start these conversations early. So sometimes your advisors, your academic advisors, may help you choose a program. If you narrow it down to two or three, they can help you choose which would be best for that major or minor. Please note that you will receive in-residence credit on your transcript no matter what. The classes taken abroad automatically will come back graded and apply towards your GPA. You will still have the option to take courses as pass-fail. We follow all of LSA's pass-fail policies, so usually that means if it's taken for your major, you can't take it pass-fail. But we will defer to your academic advisors for any of those decisions. And then if you do get courses approved, you will just work with your major or minor departments. Some departments have different processes, so you will want to just check out your major advising page if there is one on CGIS's website. If you're in a smaller major or minor, you might just have to reach out to the department to inquire. And for any distribution requirements, so like those LSA degree requirements, you will consult with your academic advisor, whether that's Noonan, Honors, or the RC, and they will be able to tell you if those are approved as well. Um, so we definitely make sure to, as you're looking at your options, look through those courses. I always recommend students, if they're not sure which program is best for them and they're trying to decide, and the courses are a big factor, to create a spreadsheet or a Google document, list out all the courses you're interested in for each program, and take that to meet with your advisor, and they can help you kind of narrow down what might make the most sense. And you can kind of do that with appointments with the various advisors. So that's why it's best to start early so you have plenty of time to kind of do that back and forth and meet with everyone necessary. So for our multiple application policy, students can only apply to one CGIS program per cycle, unless their first choice program is competitive. And if you do apply to a competitive program, you must rank your applications in mCompass. Otherwise, we will not review any of your applications. So for the programs in France, the Advanced French and the Sciences Po Reims are both labeled as competitive. Although I do not anticipate them to be very competitive, they do still have that label, so that it gives you the option to have a non-competitive program as a second choice. And then if you are applying to one of the non-competitives, so either of the humanities and social sciences in either Aix-en-Provence or in Paris, you do not need to apply to a backup one as long as you meet the eligibility requirements. It is 99% chance you get accepted. And I would just note that our programs are indicated on mCompass on the Overview tab, or the CGIS website on the By Region tab, but it will usually not be noted on the By Major page, because those change a lot, so we try to not note it there. Some CGIS programs are not great for backups, so programs in Spain or Czechia cannot be used as a backup. You are not allowed to use them for the semester cycles due to their lengthy visa process. But other programs, sometimes depending on what programs you're applying to, some might be better than others as backups, depending on what your first choice is, and vice versa. So if you do have questions about what might be a good backup choice, always consult with your CGIS advisor. They will usually have some suggestions for what work as good backups, depending on what you're looking to get during your abroad program. And just some more information for financial aid and scholarships. So you can make an appointment to get an estimate with the Study Abroad Estimate Worksheet that is found online, so you can work with the financial aid office. We always highly encourage students to do this before you submit an application. Some programs will have different costs, and so meeting with the financial aid office early can ensure that you're choosing a program that works for your financial aid package, and that you won't run into any issues later down the line. Any excess financial aids or scholarship funds on student accounts are dispersed according to the university's normal disbursement timeline. So that's usually about 10 days before the Michigan term on campus starts. So you usually will receive your funding before you go abroad for the program. It will just depend on the timeline of your program, and certainly reach out to them directly for any questions. The CGIS office does not have access to student financial information, so we are a little bit more limited into how specific of information we can help with. And then there is also the study abroad scholarship. So this is the big need-based scholarship for students, particularly those on financial aid. Um, you can check out their webpage, and the application for that scholarship has opened, and will close on September 22nd. So I always recommend students submit that application along with their study abroad application so they don't miss the deadline. And you can always reach out to them to assess your eligibility and potentially get an estimate of how much you can expect to receive. And then we do have more scholarship opportunities on the CGIS website through a spreadsheet. I know if you are a French major or minor, the RLL does have study abroad scholarships that I would certainly check out as you are applying to your program. And then to get us closer to the end, so for our website and advising, we do have the CGIS website, our mCompass page, and then the CGIS advising page is a great place to kind of get started. That will show you the portfolio of all of the CGIS advisors, which programs they do manage, so you can ensure you're scheduling an appointment with the correct advisor. And we'll have lots of other information. You can read through the blogs, see other what previous students have thought of different programs, and some programs do have FAQ guidelines, or other things like that as well. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for coming. I will stick around for any questions you have, and you can always reach me via email if you do have a specific question about any of the programs in France. I also do our programs in Senegal, so if you are a French major or minor and are interested in a French program outside of France, I'm always happy to talk about that program as well.